Hey BookTube, it's Jackie. How's it going? If you are new to me, it's the first time you're seeing my face. Hello, what's up? My name's Jackie. I sit on my floor and I talk about books. So that's why you're here, because that's what's going to be happening today. If you are not new to me, thank you for always tuning in and the continued support. I really do appreciate it. So today for you, I have my weekly wrap up. This is from September 25th through October 1st and all my reading shenanigans in between. I do not have a lot to talk about this week because I was primarily focused on one specific book. But I do have some things to talk about. So without further ado, grab yourself a drink, have yourself a seat, and let's get talking some books. Okay, so normally when I do these, I'm actually going down the order that I completed the books in. The two books I'm about to mention, I've started one and I have completed another one, and then I will go into the ones I'm actually going to be talking about. These two I won't be talking about because I literally just started them, and the other one is a Readsy Discovery book. So, the book that I did start was The Grey Bastards by Johnathan French. This is the first installment into the Grey Bastards series. I've been wanting to pick this up for a while. It just seems really a unique concept. I literally just started it, so I have zero to talk about. So I'm just going to tell you the summary of it. The summary is we have Sons of Anarchy meets World of Warcraft on orcs. Yeah, that's what we got here. Like, how does that not sound amazing? That sounds amazing. And I'm super excited. So I did start this, and you will be hearing more of my thoughts on it in the next week's weekly wrap up. So, but just so you know, I did start it. And the other book that I did complete this week, and you will be seeing a review up very, very soon, is one of my Readsy Discovery books. I was contacted by Readsy Discovery a few months ago to be one of their video reviewers, and so far I've been really enjoying my experience. And the second book I picked was Holier Than Thou, The Star, the People, the Witch, and the Forest King by Nick Jameson, and it looks like this. Just as I did with my other Readsy Discovery, I will not be talking about these books on my weekly wrap-ups. I will be only referring to them on the sole review, so I can keep all my thoughts in that review. But just know that I did complete this week, and I will be showing a review for it very, very soon. And when it goes up, I will come back and link it up to this so you'll be able to access it. Okay. Now, let's get talking about the books I can actually talk about. How's that? That's why you're here, right? All right. So, in no particular order, I have Dragon's Lair by Chantel, Fernando. Okay, so this was an Audible book, and I only gave this 2 stars. I did. I only gave it 2 stars. I was not a big fan of it, but, you know, it served its purpose. It entertained me. So I want to let you guys know about it because it might not have been for me, but this may be for you guys. This is the first installment to the Wind Dragons MC series. It is a MC romance or a motorcycle club romance, if you're not familiar with that term. There is minimal derogatory language towards females, and that is from the hero towards the heroine. And there is also triggers for the alpha male or alpha hole. And we have gang violence, murder, forced proximity, and we have a pregnancy trope involved in this. In this book, we follow Faye and Dex. Faye is a good girl going to law school. She's been dating the same boy for years. She walks in on this boy named Eric, and he is banging her friend. So she leaves. And she decides to get some revenge and goes out to a bar, doesn't pick up anybody, but then runs into Dex. Dex happens to be the vice president of the local motorcycle club gang known as the Wind Dragon MC. And she's had a crush on Dex for a long time because Dex happens to be her ex-boyfriend Eric's older brother. Yeah. Get it, girl. There you go. You do you. However, this one night stand turns out to be more of a commitment than she thought because she gets pregnant. Now, instead of telling Dex, she hides it, and at 4 months when she starts to show, her parents kick her out. And that is when Dex finds out and comes back and finds her and brings her to his compound where all his motorcycle club buddies are at, and that's where this forced proximity romance really kicks off. What worked in this book was the original concept. Good girl hooks up with ex-boyfriend's older brother, you know, the bad boy, good girl, bad boy, whole complex. Love it. I love that. I love that idea. I think that's great. Cool. I can do that in any book. I like the original premise of this book. And Faye's character worked really, really well in this. Faye did exactly what, when I have friends that their boyfriends have cheated on them. She did exactly what I advised them to do. Get the fuck out and don't go back. Don't give him a second chance. Nah, you fucked up. Get the hell out. And she does that. She stays strong throughout the entirety of this book. So the character that we see when she leaves Eric, she is that same character throughout this book. And when I mentioned the trigger for the derogatory language, when Dex calls her a bitch, girl, oh, she don't take that. No. She gets right up in that guy's face, like 5 months pregnant, and says, listen, you'll never speak to me like that again. And if you do, I don't care how pregnant I am. Kid, I'm out. I'm walking. Peace out. Deuces. Kiss my ass on the way out. I'm out. You don't speak to me like that. I don't care who you are. And I loved that. I loved that her character did not change and she was not afraid to do that. I think that was awesome. Fucking loved her character. Loved it. However, that's about the extent of what worked for me in this book. What didn't work was this book, it is an MC romance, okay? But it does not have to resemble Sons of Anarchy as closely as it did. This thing was like listening to a Sons of Anarchy script in book form. I mean, here's some of the comparisons. Jax Teller is from Sons of Anarchy. He's the vice president of the motorcycle club. Dex is the vice president of the motorcycle club. Tara was a doctor. Faye is a lawyer. Both really intellectual, high praise, high status professions, going with the grungy biker idea. In the motorcycle club, we have an Irishman who has scars on his face. Do we remember Chibs from Sons of Anarchy? One of my favorite characters. By the way, we have the sexual deviant character who literally will sleep with anything and do anything except when it comes to animals because he's particular about animals. Tig. Character Tig. There are so many similarities. I don't want to say they directly ripped it off, but they definitely got some inspiration from Sons of Anarchy. And then they actually reference Sons of Anarchy in the book. And I was like, really? Okay. I love Sons of Anarchy. I was a huge fan of that show. I watched it every week. I loved it. I got involved in it. So I really thought I'd enjoy this, but I enjoy that show better than this rendition of it. So that bothered me with this book. So I don't know if I will be continuing with this series because this one was so close to the show. But who knows? Who knows? I don't want to cut it out just yet because I was entertained by this. I did listen to the entire thing in a matter of 2 days. So obviously it did serve some purpose. And there was one other giant thing that I didn't like. I loved Faye's character. I loved her strength. I loved her stamina. I loved her I can do attitude. What I didn't like was what she did. When she became pregnant, yes, she hid it until she could no longer show it, and her parents kicked her out. But she had never any intention of telling Dex that she was pregnant. And she knew who the father was because she hadn't had sex with anybody else. She had no intention of telling him. And I personally don't agree with that. It is your choice to decide what you want to do, but it's also his choice if he wants. He has a right to know that he has a child out there, especially if you plan on keeping it. So I did not agree with that at all. So I'm really glad that Chantel wrote Dex as soon as he found out, he went and found her and brought her. But I really wish there would have been that confrontation, that Dex would have gotten her face back. They briefly mention it when we find out about Dex's father, because that was what was done to Dex. His father never knew about him. You learn about that story, but there's never that confrontation with Faye saying, are you serious? You were never going to tell me? And I think I would have maybe appreciated this book more if that conversation would have happened, because I believe that conversation should have happened. And it would have maybe ratcheted up the drama of this book just a little bit more. It would have made me feel like it was a Sons of Anarchy episode. So, yeah. Now, however, this did get a 3 chili pepper on the spice scale because this thing was kind of spicy. Kind of spicy. It was. There was definitely some graphic language, And this is the first book I've ever read that had pregnancy sex in it. So I have never been pregnant. I have no idea what it's like to have sex while being pregnant. So to have it written in a book was really interesting for me, and I really enjoyed that experience because they definitely did make a point to say, okay, I can't do this the way we normally do. Can you sit on top of me so I don't squish you? How do we, like, there was definitely some conversation between the two parties and how to safely do this. And I thought that was great. I love that because, you know, pregnant women like to love too, all right? They do. So I enjoyed that that was actually brought in to the book and we got to see that. That was great. But I would not consider this a pregnancy fetish book. It would just happen to be she was pregnant. He didn't really seek her out because she was pregnant. So I would not consider this a pregnancy fetish book. So if that's something you're looking for, that's not this book. If you're just wanting to experience that, give this book a shot. All right, that's what I have for Dragon's Lair. Again, I'm still on the fence about trying to continue with the series. I'm still on the fence about it. So you might see some more installments of this later. Not quite sure. Now, however, the book that I focused the most on this entire week was this guy. This is A Court of Wings and a Ruin by Sarah J. Maas, the third installment to the Throne of Glass. No, the third installment to the Court of Thorns and Roses series. This is, I guess when it was originally came out, this was like the culmination of a trilogy, and now more books have come out, so no, it's no longer the culmination, but it definitely does feel like an ending for some of our characters, and this thing devastated me. It made me laugh, it made me cry, it made me scream. I said fucking Tamlin a lot. A lot. And I bawled my eyes out. I just loved this. I loved this. I gave it 5 stars. There was no doubt in my mind that this thing was going to be 5 stars. I did a complete reading vlog on it, so you can get to actually watch my whole experience of me reading this book. So I will link it down the down box below and a card over here in the corner. I highly recommend go checking out. It is a long one, so make sure you have a drink and a nice comfy chair. I apologize for the length, but every tear, every laugh, every and every fucking Tamlin was earned. This book earned every single one of those reactions, and it was great. And I just, I'm kind of a little bit healed now, so I can actually talk about it without crying. And I also got to be part of the live show for the SJM read along, which is one of the reasons why I picked up this book in the first place. I am participating in the SJM read along, which if you are not familiar with that by now, it is the Sarah J. Maas read along, where we are reading all of Sarah J. Maas's published works in publication order to see if we can find some cross connections and crossovers in her series. I am a Sarah J. Maas virgin, so this is my first go through all of her books. So I've got to do a couple live shows so far for this, and I really appreciate Jen letting me be a part of it and repping for the virgins, the first timers. I really do appreciate it. And so I will link that live show for this one down below as well, and in the card in the corner. So you guys can go check it out because it is up and running now. This thing, I can't really go into it because this is not like a first installment. So, but what I can tell you, if you have never read this series, what's going on in this one is we have all of our favorite characters. They're all coming in. Their powers are showing. They're on display. All these pieces are moving. We're like a moving, I compared Empire of Storms to Risk. This is like a chessboard. This is like a living chessboard, putting pieces in the right areas for that final attack, except you don't know all the pieces you're playing with. That's the best way I can describe what is going on in this book. But we also have the romance. We have romancing developing with some new characters. We have, are they not? There's a lot of intrigue. And then we have definitely a redemption arc in this book with Tamlin. And I was not ready for that. I was not ready. I'm still not. The main thing I have to say about this book is I'm not ready to say goodbye. I am not ready to say goodbye to them. So I'm glad that I don't have to wholly say goodbye because there's still future installments, but they're not going to be in this aspect anymore. So I am not ready to say goodbye. This thing was amazing. It was perfect. Sarah J. Maas solidified herself with Court of Mist and Fury as one of my favorite authors. This book bumped her to #1. Outlander is still my favorite book, but Sarah J. Maas wrote a book with characters in a series that I refuse to walk away from. I am never going to walk away from these people. I feel like I'm going to think about them all the time until I know that they all have their happily ever after, because even the bad guys, even the villains kind of deserve it in this book. Her characters are so both sides of the coin. It's insane. Sarah is just one of the most talented authors I've ever read. The way she writes family, the way she writes found families, the way she writes relationships, the way she writes anguish, the way she writes pain, the way she writes happiness, the way she writes anything is just with so much finesse and so much talent and so much hidden things that you don't even realize you're picking up on and holding. She's so good at these Easter egg style reveals, and it's amazing. And I am loving my experience with these books. I've stopped kicking myself for why I didn't pick these up when they were coming out, because I don't feel, at looking back on it, thinking about who I was when these books were coming out, I don't think I would have appreciated them as much as I do now. Being 35 and knowing what real ups and downs look like, what depression looks like, what just my own life experiences in my personal life have shown me, I can relate to a lot of, especially in this series, I can relate to these characters on a level that when they first came out, I don't think I would have been able to relate to. And I stopped kicking myself for it because I'm reading these when I'm supposed to. I was supposed to read these now. And I have to say a big thank you to Jen for creating this readathon and opening this world to me, because honestly, without this readathon, I don't think I ever would have picked these books up. And so I thank you from the bottom of my heart, Jen, for letting me be part of your baby. And thank you for everything you've helped me do and experience with me. So I really do appreciate that so, so much. But yes, if you have not picked up a Court of Thorn and Roses series and you have any inclination to, just go pick it up. Give it a try. Court of Thorns and Roses, I will admit that a lot of people, I personally don't see it, because I wanted to pick up A Court of Mist and Fury the minute I finished that one. But I can see where people say that once they read A Court of Thorns and Roses, they don't want to pick up the rest of the series. They weren't a big fan of it. If you're in that boat and you've read A Court of Thorns and Roses and you're debating on picking up the rest of the series, go pick it up. Just do it. Bite the bullet and go do it. If you've never read A Court of Thorns and Roses, read it all the way through, feel the feels, love Tamlin. I did. And then read the rest of the series, and I guarantee you'll come back. So, that's what I have for my weekly wrap-up. This is a really short one, guys. But again, my vlog and live show will be linked down in the down box below. The cards were popped up earlier. So that's what I've got for you guys today, and I will see you guys all soon with another video.